I used to believe that love could withstand anything. Megan and I were supposed to be proof of that. High school sweethearts, together through college, married for 5 years. We had built a life together, piece by piece, with the kind of history that made other couples envious. The kind of love story that was supposed to last forever. But love alone wasn't enough. At first, everything felt like it was unfolding the way it was meant to. We moved into a cozy home, settled into a rhythm. The long work hours didn't bother me because I thought we were working towards something bigger. Late nights at the office, weekends sacrificed for extra projects. It was all for us, for the future we dreamed about. I wanted to provide the best life possible. A house that felt like home, financial stability, vacations we wouldn't have to budget for, a life free of the struggles we both grew up with. Meanwhile, Megan was chasing something else. Something I didn't see at first. The change was gradual, subtle enough that I ignored it in the beginning. She had always been social, always loved a night out with her friends. At first, it was just the occasional Friday. Then it was Saturday too. Then it was random weeknights. The first few times, she'd invite me, but my exhaustion from work always got in the way. "You go ahead," I'd tell her, thinking nothing of it. Then the invitations stopped. She started coming home later, smelling like cheap perfume that wasn't hers and alcohol that lingered on her breath. She'd drop her heels by the door, stumble into bed, and be gone before I woke up in the morning. Our weekends became a game of missed connections. I'd plan a quiet evening at home. She'd cancel last minute. I'd suggest brunch. She'd be too hungover. I told myself it was just a phase, a reaction to routine. We had been together so long. Maybe she just needed to blow off steam. She'd settle down. She'd grow out of it. But it only got worse. The first real fight happened on a Wednesday night. She was getting ready to go out, slipping into a dress I'd never seen before, something tight and low-cut. I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, trying to focus on an upcoming project. "Where are you going?" I asked, barely looking up. She spritzed on perfume, checking her reflection in the mirror. "Out with some of the girls. Just drinks." It was the third time that week. I shut my laptop and finally looked at her. "Megan, don't you think this is getting a little out of hand?" She sighed, rolling her eyes. "Oh, here we go. I'm serious. You're never home anymore. We barely spend time together. What's going on? What's going on?" She turned to face me, hands on her hips. "Charlie, I sit in this house all day, waiting for you to come home from work. And when you do, you're too exhausted to do anything. I just want to have fun. Is that a crime? I work so we can have a life, Megan. A life? Or just survival?" She scoffed. "Because lately, it feels like I'm just existing." Her words stung, but I didn't know how to respond. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door. "Don't wait up," she added, before disappearing into the night. I didn't, and that became the routine. The anniversary dinner was supposed to be a chance to fix things, a chance to reconnect. I made reservations at her favorite restaurant, dressed up, even left work early to make sure everything was perfect. I should have known better. She was already late by the time I arrived, and after 20 minutes, I checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts. I told myself she was stuck in traffic. 40 minutes passed, then an hour, then finally, a notification. I unlocked my phone, heart sinking as I stared at the screen. A blurry selfie. Megan, smiling, arm draped around 2 other women I barely recognized. Neon lights flashing in the background. Music so loud I could almost hear it through the image. "Sorry, babe. Lost track of time. Have fun at dinner." I stared at the message for a long time, waiting for the anger to hit, waiting for the betrayal to settle in my chest like a weight. But all I felt was nothing. I put my phone down, flagged the waiter, and asked for the check. I hadn't even touched my meal. That was the night I stopped waiting for her to come home. When I got back to the house, it felt different. The space we had once built together felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. I walked through the rooms, past the framed pictures of us smiling, past the little notes she used to leave on the fridge. I used to love this house, Now, it just felt like walls and furniture. I sat on the couch in the dark, listening to the silence. No sound of Megan's heels clicking across the floor. No laughter, no drunken stumbles, no apologies. I didn't know what time she finally got home. I didn't care. I was already asleep, dreaming of a life where I didn't have to keep wondering if my wife would choose me over a night out. The morning after our anniversary, Megan was still asleep when I left for work. I didn't bother waking her. I didn't even look at her as I walked past the bedroom door, barely cracked open, just enough for me to see the outline of her body tangled in the sheets. Her dress from the night before was in a heap on the floor. Her phone, face down on the nightstand, vibrated once. Then again. I hesitated for a second, staring at it, before shaking my head and walking away. It didn't matter. Nothing I saw on that screen would change what I already knew in my gut. At work, I went through the motions, answering emails, attending meetings, but my mind wasn't there. Every time I blinked, I saw that damn selfie, the carefree expression on her face, the way she had taken a moment to text me, not to apologize, not to explain, but to make sure I knew where she was and that I wasn't a part of it. By lunch, my phone buzzed again. Megan. Hey, I'm so sorry about last night. I feel awful. Can we talk later? I read the message twice before locking my phone and tossing it onto my desk. I had no energy for her excuses. She tried calling around 5. I let it ring, then again at 6, straight to voicemail. By the time I got home, I was ready for the conversation, but the house was empty. I checked my watch. She was out again. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing, trying to process how we had gotten here. How the girl I fell in love with had turned into a stranger. I wasn't naive. I knew what it looked like. The late nights, the secrecy, the way her phone was never out of arm's reach anymore. The growing distance between us, like she was pulling away piece by piece, waiting for me to either chase after her or finally let go. I didn't know what she wanted, but I knew what I was starting to want. A life that didn't feel like this. She came home a little after 11. I heard the car pull into the driveway, the soft click of her heels on the pavement, the jingle of her keys as she unlocked the door. I stayed on the couch, arms crossed, watching as she stepped inside. She looked surprised to see me. "You're home early," she said, kicking off her shoes. I raised an eyebrow. "It's almost midnight." She shrugged. "Yeah, I guess. Long day." I let out a short laugh. "You could say that." She hesitated, lingering in the doorway like she wasn't sure if she wanted to sit down or run straight upstairs. Finally, she walked over to the couch and sat across from me. "Look, about last night," she started, tucking her hair behind her ear. "I know I messed up. I should have called. You didn't forget, Megan." My voice was steady, calm. "You just didn't care enough to show up." She flinched, like I had slapped her. "That's not fair, isn't it?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "If it were the other way around, if I stood you up on our anniversary because I was too busy getting wasted at a club, what would you think?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she exhaled, pressing her fingers to her temples like she had a headache. "I just needed a night to blow off steam, Charlie. It wasn't personal." I let her words hang in the air for a second before shaking my head. "That's the problem, Megan. It should be personal. It was supposed to be our night, and you chose to be somewhere else." She sighed, leaning back against the couch, looking at the ceiling like it held the answers. "I don't know what you want me to say. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry." I studied her face. The apology was there, but it was hollow. No real guilt, no real regret. Just words, tossed out like a bone, hoping I'd take it and let everything go. "You've changed," I said finally, "and I don't think it's just about blowing off steam." She looked at me then, her expression unreadable. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't know who you are anymore." Silence stretched between us. For a moment, I thought she might fight for us, might tell me she wanted to fix things, that she still loved me, that she wasn't slipping away. Instead, she stood up. "I'm going to bed," she muttered. And just like that, the conversation was over. I sat there for a long time after she left, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. Eventually, I got up, walked upstairs, and stood in the doorway of our bedroom. Megan was already in bed, her back to me, curled up under the blanket. I thought about sliding in next to her, reaching for her like I used to, but something inside me resisted. Instead, I grabbed a pillow, walked down the hall, and shut the guest room door behind me. I don't know if she even noticed. That became the new normal. Separate rooms, separate lives, passing each other in the mornings with nothing but a nod or a forced smile. The conversations grew shorter, the silences stretched longer. I told myself I was waiting for a sign, something to tell me if there was anything left to save. Then, one night, I got my answer. It was a little past 2 in the morning when I woke up to the sound of Megan's voice. At first, I thought she was calling for me, half asleep and confused. Then I realized she wasn't talking to me. She was on the phone. I sat up, straining to hear. Her voice was low, hushed, but the words came through clear enough. "No, I miss you too." My stomach dropped. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard in months. The kind that used to be just for me. "I wish you were here," she whispered. "This bed is too big without you." I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, fists clenched. I wanted to storm into the room, rip the phone out of her hands, demand to know who the hell she was talking to. But I didn't. I just laid there, staring into the dark, letting the truth settle in. Megan wasn't just slipping away. She was already gone. The next morning, I didn't say anything. I didn't confront her. I didn't even look at her. I just got up, got dressed, and left for work like it was any other day. But inside, something had shifted. There was no more doubt. No more questioning if I was being paranoid, if I was imagining things, if I was the problem. I had my answer. Megan had checked out of our marriage a long time ago, and now she had someone else filling the space where I used to be. And the worst part? She didn't even try to hide it anymore. That night, I stayed late at the office. Not because I had extra work, but because I couldn't bring myself to go home. I imagined walking through the front door, seeing Megan curled up on the couch, texting whoever she had whispered to in the dark. The thought made me sick. By the time I finally forced myself to leave, it was past 10. The drive home felt longer than usual, the streets emptier, the silence louder. When I pulled into the driveway, Megan's car was gone. Of course it was. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, debating whether to text her, to ask where she was. But why? So she could feed me another half-assed excuse? So she could tell me she was just out with friends, when we both knew exactly what she was doing? Instead, I unlocked my phone and scrolled through our old messages. The ones from years ago, when she used to text me goodnight if I was working late. The ones where she sent me random pictures during the day just to make me smile. The ones where she told me she loved me, really loved me, not just out of habit. I don't know why I tortured myself like that. Maybe because I wanted to remember what it used to be like. Maybe because I needed to see in black and white just how much had changed. When I finally stepped inside the house, it felt like a stranger's home. The warmth was gone. The laughter, the love, the sense of safety. It had all disappeared. Now it was just walls, furniture, and memories that didn't feel like mine anymore. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a drink, and leaned against the counter, staring at my reflection in the dark window. What the hell was I still doing here? That thought hit me harder than I expected. I didn't have an answer. I waited up for her, not because I wanted to see her, but because I needed to. I needed to look her in the eye and see if she had even a shred of guilt left. She came home at 1 in the morning. Her makeup was smudged, her hair slightly messy, the same way it always was when she stumbled in late. She barely glanced at me as she kicked off her shoes and tossed her purse onto the table. "You're up," she said, her voice casual. "Yeah," I replied, sipping my drink. "Late night." She shrugged, avoiding my gaze. "Yeah, just lost track of time." She didn't even try anymore. I watched as she grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, took a sip, and stretched like she was exhausted. Then she turned toward the stairs. "Good night," she muttered. That was it. No explanation. No attempt to reassure me. No effort at all. Just like that, she disappeared upstairs, leaving me alone with the truth I had been trying to ignore for too long. I didn't follow her. I didn't sleep in the guest room either. I just stayed there, sitting at the kitchen table, listening to the faint sounds of her moving around upstairs. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just an eerie kind of clarity. I was done. I had spent months, maybe even years, trying to hold on to something that didn't exist anymore. I had given Megan every opportunity to come back to me, to fight for what we had, to prove that she still cared. She never did. And now I wasn't going to either. The next day, I started making plans. At lunch, I called a realtor and asked how quickly I could sell the house. By the afternoon, I had checked out a few apartments downtown, smaller spaces that didn't feel like empty echoes of a life that had fallen apart. That evening, I stayed late at the office again, but this time, I wasn't avoiding home. I was figuring out how to leave it behind. Megan didn't even notice. She barely spoke to me that week. She came and went as she pleased, texting on her phone more than she talked to me, lost in a world I was no longer a part of. And then, one night, she came home at 3 in the morning. I woke up to the sound of the front door closing. I stayed in bed, waiting, listening. Soft footsteps, a hushed voice, a quiet giggle, and then another voice, a man's voice. My entire body went cold. For a second, I thought I had imagined it. But then, I heard it again, low and murmured, followed by the unmistakable sound of Megan whispering something back. I sat up slowly, my pulse thudding in my ears. I had thought I was ready for this. I had spent days preparing myself, making my peace with the fact that our marriage was over. I had accepted that Megan had checked out, that she didn't love me anymore, that she had moved on. But nothing could have prepared me for the moment she brought someone else into our home. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, feet hitting the cold floor. My mind was racing, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wanted to walk out there, to see him, to look Megan in the eyes and make her say it out loud. But I already knew. Instead, I grabbed my keys. I walked out without a word. I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't care. I just knew I wasn't coming back. I drove for hours. No destination, no plan. Just streetlights blurring past. My hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The city felt unfamiliar, like I didn't belong in it anymore. Like everything I had built my life around had collapsed, and I was standing in the wreckage, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. At some point, I pulled into a gas station, parked at the edge of the lot, and just sat there. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. I didn't look at it. I already knew who it was. Megan. Maybe she realized I had left. Maybe she had something rehearsed, some excuse waiting for me. Or maybe she wasn't even calling to explain. Maybe she just wanted to know how much I knew, how much damage control she needed to do. I picked up the phone, stared at her name on the screen, and let it ring until it stopped. Then I turned it off. I leaned back in the driver's seat, closing my eyes. The exhaustion hit me all at once, pressing down on my chest, but I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the sound of that voice, his voice inside my house. I had known for a long time that she was gone, but hearing him there, laughing with her, whispering to her, that was different. That wasn't just emotional distance. That wasn't just a marriage falling apart. That was final. The sun was starting to rise when I finally turned the car around and headed back. I didn't go home. That place wasn't my home anymore. Instead, I drove straight to a storage facility on the other side of town. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. I had looked it up earlier in the week, made a reservation, had everything set up, waiting. Maybe some part of me had known this moment was coming, that I would need to leave, and when I did, I wouldn't be taking much with me. The guy behind the desk barely looked at me as I filled out the paperwork. "Moving?" he asked absently. I hesitated for a second before nodding. Something like that. By the time I pulled up to the house, Megan's car was gone. Good. I walked inside and stood in the entryway, letting my eyes move over the space one last time. The photos on the walls, the couch where we used to curl up on Friday nights, the kitchen where we had slow Sunday mornings together. It was all familiar, but none of it felt like mine anymore. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and filled it with the things I actually cared about. Clothes, my laptop, a couple of books. Then I packed a second bag, smaller. One that held the little things that still mattered. A watch my grandfather gave me. A handful of old letters Megan had written me back when she still loved me. I wasn't sure why I took those. Maybe to remind myself that it had been real once. I didn't touch anything else. I didn't take the TV or the furniture or the expensive gifts we had given each other over the years. Megan could have all of it. She had already taken the most important things from me. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Just one sentence. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. And then I walked out. The apartment I found was small, barely furnished, but it was mine. No shared history, no ghosts of a life that had fallen apart. Just four walls, a bed, and the quiet kind of solitude that didn't feel lonely. It felt like freedom. The first few nights were hard. Not because I missed her, but because I didn't know who I was without her. My entire adult life had been built around Megan, around us, and now, without that anchor, I felt weightless. But then, slowly, the silence became comforting. I started working out again, cooking real meals instead of ordering takeout, sleeping without waking up in the middle of the night, wondering if she was out somewhere with him. I didn't block her number. I didn't have to. She never called. The first time I saw her again was 2 months later. I was at a coffee shop, flipping through a book, when I felt it, that sharp awareness that someone was watching me. I looked up, and there she was, sitting at a table near the window, staring at her phone. She looked different, tired, thinner, like whatever high she had been chasing had finally worn off. For a second, I thought she might come over, that she might try to say something, spin some story about how things had changed, how she had changed. But she didn't. She looked up, met my gaze for a split second, then turned away. And just like that, I knew it was over. Not just the marriage, not just the heartbreak, all of it. Whatever hold she had on me, whatever part of me had still been waiting for an explanation, for an apology for something, it was gone. That night, I went home to my apartment, poured myself a drink, and sat on the floor, listening to the quiet. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for anything. I was free.